The Imperium of Man is not one government. It is a collection of rival organizations that despise each other, competing for control of a corpse empire, and every single one of them is hiding something that would collapse the whole structure if it ever became common knowledge. These are the 8 biggest secrets, and most of them are hiding in plain sight. The Custodes were never really bodyguards, they are jailers, and the thing they are guarding is not alive. So, what do the 10,000 actually do all day? And why did they stop leaving Terra for 10,000 years? Every custodian is individually crafted, not raised in batches like space marines, made one at a time, over decades, each with a unique gene-forging process, each theoretically capable of defeating a space marine captain single-handed. There are roughly 10,000 of them. They were built by the Emperor personally, for a single purpose, to stand beside him. That purpose ended in the year 014, M31, when Horus was struck down, and the Emperor was interred in the Golden Throne. Their charge has not spoken since. Here is the part that the Imperial Creed cannot survive. The Custodes knew the Emperor personally. They spoke with him. And the Emperor's own founding doctrine, the Imperial Truth, was militant atheism. He banned religion across the Great Crusade. He punished Lorgar publicly for worshipping him. The Custodes therefore know, as a matter of direct testimony, that the galaxy-spanning religion built in his name is precisely the thing he outlawed. They have never corrected anyone. For 10 millennia they simply stopped talking, sealed themselves inside the palace, and let a trillion-world church grow on top of a lie they personally witnessed being told. Now they have started leaving. After the fall of Cardia, the Custodes broke a 10,000-year seclusion and began deploying across the galaxy. The official reason is that the threat has escalated. The unstated reason is the one nobody says out loud. You do not abandon a post unless the thing you were posted to protect is already gone. The Inquisition's power does not come from a charter. There isn't one. So, who actually authorized the Inquisition, and what happens if someone asks to see the paperwork? An Inquisitor can requisition an Imperial Navy battle fleet. They can order a Space Marine chapter into battle. They can declare exterminatus and burn a world of 8 billion loyal Imperial citizens to ash. They answer to no planetary governor, no High Lord, no military command. The founding documents are lost. The Inquisition traces itself to the aftermath of the Heresy and to Malcador the Sigillite, but the actual instrument of authority, the thing that says any of this is legal, does not exist in any archive. The rosette is the authority, a small metal badge, and the fact that nobody has ever successfully refused one. It is not even a single organization. It is a permanent Cold War between the Puritan factions, who believe chaos must never be touched, and the radicals, who believe it must be used. The Ordo Malleus exists to destroy demons, and radical inquisitors of that same Ordo carry demon hosts and demon weapons into battle. Each faction considers the other heretical. Each has the authority to execute the other on sight, and both regularly do. The secret they keep from the Imperium is not any single heresy. It is that the organization charged with hunting heresy cannot agree on what heresy is, and has been quietly murdering itself for 10,000 years while presenting a united face to everyone else. The Mechanicus is not a scientific institution, it is an archaeology cult, and innovation is a capital crime. So, why has humanity's technology gone backwards for 10,000 years? The Mechanicus does not design, it recovers. Every pattern of weapon, engine and ship in Imperial service traces back to a standard template construct. Automated design archives from the dark age of technology, most of them lost. The survivors copied and recopied until the copies are barely functional. To create genuinely new technology is innovation, and innovation is heresy, punishable by death. The consequences are measurable. A land raider is built to a pattern nobody fully understands. Titan-scale plasma reactors are maintained by ritual because the operating theory is gone. Their own sealed records acknowledge that the maintenance procedures for the Golden Throne itself are no longer comprehensible to them. Belisarius Cawl has worked on the problem for 10,000 years without a solution. The cover-up is theological. By defining the recovery of old knowledge as revelation and the creation of new knowledge as sin, the Mechanicus converted its own incapacity into a religion, a priesthood that cannot invent, is only humiliated if invention is considered possible. And then there is Mars itself, the dominant theory in the lore, and it is a theory, not confirmed canon, is that the Void Dragon, a Catan star god with total mastery over machines, lies imprisoned beneath the Martian surface, and that the entire cult Mechanicus formed because a sleeping god's dreams leaked into the minds of the first settlers. If that is true, the Mechanicus does not worship a metaphor, it worships a prisoner, and it has been praying at the door of its cell for 10,000 years. The Imperial Cult is heresy, by the Emperor's own law, as he wrote it, in his own lifetime. So, how did a state atheist empire become a theocracy of 1 trillion worlds? During the Great Crusade, the Emperor enforced the imperial truth, a secular, rationalist doctrine that abolished religion on every world it reached. Temples were demolished, priesthoods were dissolved. When Lorgar Aurelian built cities that worshipped him, the emperor had the world of Monarchia razed to the ground and forced an entire legion to kneel in the ashes as a lesson that humiliation is the direct cause of the Horus heresy. Lorgar's shattered faith is what sent him looking for gods who would accept worship, and the word-bearers became the first traitors, the ones who corrupted everyone else. Within a few centuries of the emperor's interment, the thing he had destroyed a world to prevent was the official state religion. It got worse. During the Age of Apostasy, High Lord Gog Vandire held control of both the Ecclesiarchy and the Administratum simultaneously, and launched the Reign of Blood, purges across countless worlds in the Emperor's name. He was only stopped when a custodian escorted the leader of his own fanatical bodyguard into the Imperial Palace, and let her see the truth for herself. The organization was restructured afterward, and forbidden from keeping men under arms, which is the actual, technical reason the Adeptus Sororitas are exclusively female. The Ecclesiarchy did not reform, it found a loophole. The Imperial Guard was never designed to win battles, it was designed to deliver bodies to a location, in enough quantity that the location eventually stops being a problem. So, what is the actual doctrine, and why does it never change? The scale is the doctrine. Regiments are raised planet-wide, and shipped out permanently, never to return home. A single Imperial Guard regiment can number in the tens of thousands, and a major campaign fields hundreds of them. Casualty rates that would end any real-world war are treated as an accounting line. The mechanism that holds it together is internal violence. Commissars are attached to guard units with standing authority to execute Imperial soldiers, not enemies, their own, for cowardice, hesitation or retreat. The organization openly maintains a caste of officers whose primary function is killing its own personnel to make advancing less frightening than standing still. The secret is not the brutality. Every guardsman knows about the brutality. The secret is in the Administratum's tithe mathematics, where the number of soldiers a world must supply is calculated against expected attrition, meaning the deaths are not a failure of the plan, they are the plan, projected years in advance, and filed in triplicate before the regiment is even raised. Space Marines are not a renewable resource. Every one of them is made from a supply that has been shrinking for 10,000 years. So, what is gene seed, and what happens when the last of it degrades? The original stock came from 20 Primarchs. 2 were erased. Several are irretrievably corrupted. What remains has been cultured, harvested and recultured across 10 millennia, and every cycle introduces mutation. The Blood Angel's red thirst, the Space Wolf's wolfen curse, and the Salamander's physiology are all flaws written into the line that nobody can edit out. Some chapters can no longer produce viable gene seed at all. The Mechanicus cannot create new stock. That would be innovation. Every chapter is required to tithe gene seed to Mars, and every chapter underreports. The Inquisition knows they underreport. The arrangement holds because the alternative is auditing the only military force capable of resisting an audit. And now the line has been altered without permission. The Primaris Marines are the product of 10,000 years of unsanctioned genetic work by Belisarius Cawl, begun on Guilliman's authority before he was struck down, continued for 100 centuries without oversight from anyone. Cawl has never fully disclosed what he changed. Guilliman authorized the project, and by his own admission in the law, does not know everything that was done to it in his absence. The Imperium executes mutants. The Imperium also cannot move a single ship between stars without a hereditary dynasty of them. So, what is a navigator, and how does the Imperium justify the contradiction? A navigator possesses a third eye and the ability to perceive the light of the Astronomicon through the warp. It is a stable, inherited genetic mutation, held within a closed aristocracy of navigator houses. Without one, a warp jump is effectively blind. Every Imperial Navy warship, every trade vessel, every black ship carrying psychers to Terra, all of it stops without them. Meanwhile, ordinary Imperial citizens born with far smaller mutations are killed as abominations, and the Adeptus Ministorum preaches the purity of the human form as doctrine. The resolution is bureaucratic, not theological. Navigators are formally classed as abhumans under specific sanction, the same legal category that permits ogrins and ratlings to serve. A special exemption was written, filed, and never publicly examined again. The houses themselves are enormously wealthy, politically untouchable, and hold seats among the High Lords of Terra. The escalation is happening now. The Great Rift has split the galaxy, and across Imperium Nihilus the Astronomicon is faint or entirely absent. The one thing navigators navigate by is going dark, and there is no replacement, no backup system, and no possibility of engineering one. The Imperium does not have an accurate count of its own worlds. It has not had one for thousands of years. So, how does an empire lose track of itself? The commonly cited figure is around 1 million worlds, and that number is an estimate built on records that no living person has verified. Communication moves at the speed of a ship, which moves through a medium where time is not reliable. A message can arrive before it was sent, or centuries late, or never. The documented consequences are absurd and entirely canonical. Worlds continue paying their tithe to an Imperium that has no record of them. Other worlds are assessed and taxed for centuries after being destroyed, with the tithe demands still being generated and dispatched. Scribes are born, work an entire lifetime, and die inside a single department without their work ever being read. Whole subsectors have been rediscovered by accident, having been lost from the records and left to govern themselves. There is no cover-up here, and that is the point. The Administratum does not hide its incapacity because hiding requires someone who knows the full picture, and the entire secret is that nobody does. The bureaucracy is too vast to audit itself. It has become a self-perpetuating machine that generates and processes paperwork about an empire whose actual shape it lost track of a long time ago. Each of these organizations exists to hold the Imperium together, and each one is concealing the fact that its part of the structure is already failing. What holds the Imperium up is not any of them working, it is that no single organization can see enough of the whole to realize how bad it is. Which of these do you think collapses first? And if you think I've missed a bigger one, tell me in the comments, I'll look into it for a follow-up.